With more evidence mounting that Donald Trump and his team of two-bit lawyers have been making up allegations of widespread voter fraud in an attempt to overturn the valid results of the general election, a newly leaked call has added to that evidence. And in this case, it's Donald Trump talking to Georgia's Secretary of State, Ken Raffensperger. Now, the highlights in that tape indicate that Trump wanted officials in Georgia to find enough ballots to essentially put Trump over the edge and overturn the election results. In response to that tape, though, where Trump rehashed all of these ridiculous, unfounded claims of widespread voter fraud, you have people from Fox News, people who have supported him, like Steve Doocy, speaking out and saying, no, pouring cold water on this, there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud. Watch.
So many people have questions. Integrity is so important, and there are these battleground states where they change the laws, they change the rules at the last minute, and people have a problem with that. And they're worried that if they don't do something about it now, this will continue and mail-in ballots will continue in the next election.
You know,
and it's got no shot of success.
That's the case that Donald Trump and his lawyers have put out. They said there's all this evidence, but they haven't really produced the evidence. If you, I read the entire 1 hour and 2 minute call the president had with Brad Raffensperger yesterday. And at one point, the president was talking about how thousands of dead people voted. And the Secretary of State down in Georgia said, you know, Mr. President, we looked into that. We could only find 2 people who were listed as dead who actually did the voting. And it was, it was a mistake in the House.
That was just in that state.
In the state of Georgia. So ultimately, is this going to make any difference? Brian, to your point, probably not. But for a lot of people who feel like they've been listening to the president of the United States and he is asking for loyalty to them, they're standing up for him at the 11th hour, because after Wednesday, that's it.
Now, again, that was Doocy commenting specifically on Donald Trump's call with the Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger. I know I misspoke and said Ken in the beginning of the story, but nonetheless, I think what he says there is absolutely true. I just wish that our Fox and friends didn't enable Donald Trump in this kind of behavior all throughout his term. But now, when it's become clear that Trump is absolutely trying to do the most undemocratic thing imaginable, I don't know if Doocy's doing this to clean up his image because he has been an enabler for Trump, but at least he's speaking the truth about what's really going on and is, again, pouring cold water on these allegations of widespread voter fraud.
She looked like she looked like she was supporting him, and she she thought she was gonna get a cosign. And yeah. He was not, because you know what it is, there's a type of woman that Donald Trump gravitates to and elevates their platforms, and he promotes. And I think that they like to, ingratiate themselves to him because they think that there's opportunity in that. But at this point, I think all Americans should be looking at who's fighting for our democracy, regardless of what political party that they belong to, because that's what we're fighting for at this point. He's really trying to con us out of our democracy because he's been hanging out with these dictators, and he thinks he can run that game on America.
Yeah, I know, it's incredible. Like, so brazen about it as well, right? I mean, what we're hearing from people like David Perdue in Georgia is, well, the real problem here is that Donald Trump was recorded without his knowledge. No, I think the real problem here is that we have someone who's trying to single-handedly dismantle our democratic process and overturn the legitimate results of the general election. I think that's the real problem. By the way, Kelly Loeffler, in a breaking news story just now, has confirmed that she plans on challenging the electoral votes on January 6th. So this goes along with proving yourself to be a true Trump loyalist in order to get people to get out the vote. But hey, I mean, if there's widespread voter fraud and it's impacting elections like the one in Georgia, do Republican voters really want to show up to the polls and engage in a sham election? I don't know. And look, obviously, I want everyone to show up to vote. I'm not trying to discourage anybody, but my point here is that this talking point, this attempt by Donald Trump's camp to overturn the results of the election has in fact discouraged confidence in our electoral process. And Republican lawmakers in the state of Georgia are panicking right now because they're worried that there won't be enough Republican voters to show up and reelect Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue. And to be quite honest with you, that is a result that I would celebrate. I think they're awful lawmakers. But again, it shows you how much Trump can really undermine democracy just by calling into question a legitimate election that he's provided absolutely no evidence of voter fraud of.
I love that he said they're gonna vote negative.
I mean,
idiocracy.
We have one more video because even Brian Kilmeade, by the way, decided to tell the truth about what's going on with this election.
I just worry about you have that along with the protests the president's going for on Tuesday and Wednesday. I mean, this is the type of anarchy that doesn't work for anybody, Republicans or Democrats in the big picture. And I just think it's up to the president's legal team to produce what they're telling him they have. For example, if they have 200 dead people voting in Nevada. Can I see the names? 200, if you have thousands, you're telling the president you got thousands of dead people voting in Georgia. Show the president and then have the president hold it up. Because if there's 2,000, it's most likely be 20,000. But so far, there's just no proof of it. And just because you voted for the president doesn't mean that this actual evidence exists.
Kilmeade. Couldn't help but admit that he hasn't seen the evidence because no one has. No one has seen the evidence, including Trump-appointed federal judges who have heard these challenges to the election results and have thrown these cases out because Trump and his lawyers don't have evidence. They don't. So now you even have Fox News, which for a while served as state-sponsored press for Donald Trump, speaking out against the narrative that he's pushing out here regarding, again, unfounded claims of widespread voter fraud.
You know, they are realizing that he's not going to be around and they need to get cool with the next president, make sure that they have some grace. They're going to want some interviews and they're going to want some ratings. But I just think that at some point people are like, the gig is up and we just can't keep doing this. You know, and what Donald Trump knows is that he's dealing with cult-like behavior, which is why he keeps speaking to those people with those talking points. Because anyone who has any sense of logic, any semblance of intelligence, understands that what he is talking about is unfounded. So at this point, he's going to continue speaking to the people that he's been speaking to. What he doesn't realize is that this is not how you run this. This is not like some poker table in a back alley where you can just say, this is what we're doing. This is the United States of America. And it's been running for quite some time with policies in place. And even though as shady as it can be, you're not just gonna bring your little street game into the house and think that you're just gonna flip the table like that and just take it, you know. But he really thinks that he can. You know why? Because he is president in the first place. He knew, people around Donald Trump always said that when he started to run, he never thought that he could be and he didn't take it seriously. And what happened? He became the president of the United States. So why wouldn't he think that he could steal another election? He became president in the first place. The dum-dum from The Apprentice, the dum-dum who who's bad at real estate, bad at wine, bad at corporations, bad at everything that he does. He's bad at marriage. He became the president of the United States of America. So why wouldn't he think he could do this? I don't get it. I don't understand why anybody is appalled by his audacity to believe that he can do what he's done. Look what he's done. He
Definitely.
He sat among some of the greatest leaders of the world, across the table from them, as the president of the United States. That happened.
And then he met Kim Jong-un, and then they fell in love.
Of course.
Like, no, I know. That's such a great point. I mean, I would say he's delusional, but again, he's had everything he's wanted his entire life. And he genuinely thinks that he's earned things, even though he inherited all the money he had and then proceeded to go bankrupt several times, lose it. Again, he's always found a loophole. He's always found a way to either intimidate people, take advantage of loopholes, and get exactly what he wants. So it certainly doesn't surprise me that he's doing what he's doing right now. But I will say, even at this late date, even after years of covering just the selfishness and the narcissism among Republican lawmakers, it is pretty depressing to see how many of them are willing to go along with this narrative just for their own political benefit. And it gives you a sense of who they really are. Don't forget their names. They deserve to suffer the consequences of trying to help to dismantle our democratic process. We got to take a break. Okay. Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to say something quickly. I really want people to understand, those people who watch this to hate, that Donald Trump is not trying to hold on to America because he cares about the people. He wants to impact and rectify what he did with this pandemic. He wants to help the businesses and the working man. He realized that he and his family capitalized greatly economically off of this country. They hustled this country and they hustled them into their bank accounts, into their well-being, into their lives, and they don't want to let that go. So these people who think that he really is trying to hold on to the country, count how many times he's talked about people with the virus, count how many times he's talked about the working man, the small businesses, all of the devastation that is happening in this country. He doesn't. All he talks about is how he doesn't want to let his office go because him, Ivanka, all the criminals around him have made so much money off of this country. They don't want to let the hustle go.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.